We are going to continue this breakdown of figuring out when the next Crash game is going to be announced. And I think I have it down to the day. Let's talk about it.
Whoa!
What's up guys, Canadian Guy here, and back with a brand new video. As you can tell from the title, this is part 2 of a previous video. Previously, we covered the amount of activity and buzz that's been happening around Crash Bandicoot through social media, sales, and new merchandise. We then connected the new merchandise's release date to the new Summer Gaming Fest to figure out the general idea of when the new game will be coming. If you did not see part 1 yet, I do strongly recommend that you do because, well, you might get lost in this video. Now, as of writing this, a new piece of information has arisen that has gotten the fan base buzzing and originally was not a part of this script, but I'm going to add it in anyway. A rapper by the name of Quavo was sent a gigantic box that was loaded with Crash Bandicoot merchandise. And I mean loaded. Numbskulls merch, the Tubbs Ducks, you name it. Now, remember how they sent out the Spyro eggs and the orange dice before the announcement of both CTR and Reignited? Well, something similar might be happening. Plus, with all the activity that I talked about in part 1, it's kind of weird that suddenly a giant Crash Bandicoot care package just shows up for a famous rapper, no? Anyway, before we left last video, I said that there were 2 companies in the upcoming Summer Game Fest that we should be focusing on: Activision and PlayStation. So let's try to figure out if there is one to focus more on. Now, the most obvious one is Activision, but Activision does not only publish Crash and Spyro, but one of the biggest franchises in gaming history, Call of Duty. Now, I made this chart in a previous video, but every single Call of Duty game in the past 7 years has either been announced in late April or any time in May. Of course, with April being past and no Call of Duty being announced, that means I'm about 90% sure that the next Call of Duty is going to be announced in the month of May. If we look in the past as well, Activision has held shows and directs like other companies have, like Nintendo or PlayStation, but only for Call of Duty, like showing off the announcement of Black Ops 4. However, this has never happened for Crash or Spyro. Now again, Gaming Fest has Activision featured as one of the publishers that will be showing content off. Because of this, I think Activision is going to have a presentation that is wrapped only around Call of Duty and nothing else. Because, let's unfortunately face it, Crash Bandicoot is not as big globally and doesn't really fit in with the shooty bang bang gamer crowd. Now, remember how I said in the first video to remember how the Crash Bandicoot sales were all PlayStation branded? Well, this is where it swings right back. Crash Bandicoot has always been seen as a PlayStation icon, even though PlayStation has never really owned the IP. So PlayStation makes sure to have some exclusivity over Crash products in some way. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy had the 1 year of exclusivity. Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled has skins for characters and a track along with carts that can only be accessed in the PlayStation version. PlayStation also has marketing rights to the game, so they get to advertise Crash Bandicoot on their media channels and have the PlayStation bumper ad at the end of their ads, usually for about a year. To add on to this, a recent leak from a journalist that goes by the name of Guru had claimed that a new Crash game would be coming soon, and that there seems to be mentions of some form of PlayStation exclusivity to the title. Will it be content? Will it just be aesthetics? Will PlayStation spring for the 1 year exclusive deal again? Only time will tell. But the important fact is that if PlayStation has any form of exclusivity to this title, then it will likely be shown at their showing during the Summer Game Fest. To add more fuel to this fire, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy was announced during the PlayStation Experience in 2016, and during a State of Play, PlayStation's version of Nintendo's Directs, they announced the massive amount of additional content in Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled, which included the PlayStation exclusive aesthetics and all the Crash Nitro Kart tracks and content, both large announcements for both games. I also made videos talking and theorizing about all of this in the past, and thus far, it's fitting and matching what I've been saying. So I think the next Crash Bandicoot title is going to be announced during the PlayStation event of Summerfest and have some form of exclusivity to PlayStation. But hey, why are we stopping here? Let's push and stretch this to the max. In April, VGC had reported that Sony had plans to reveal the PS5 in May. However, at the time of publication, they were still unsure if this plan would be followed through due to the pandemic that's been affecting us around the world. However, things began to really churn when Jeffrey Grubb of GamesBeat, a verified news reporter, said the following quote, "Now that I got the Nintendo story out of my system, let me update here. Something is happening June 4th, and it's next-gen games related. People saying Sony could announce hardware before that are absolutely right. What this hints overall is that Sony will likely have an event in May that is going to be showing off the console and how it visually looks, but we'll have a following presentation on June 4th to show off the next generation of games on the PlayStation 5. This is then supported by Jason Schreier, an industry reporter and insider, when he was asked about when the PlayStation 5 reveal event would be happening after he had commented on the Xbox event, which he responded with, quote, "Few more weeks, I believe," which lands us again in May for the console reveal. But June is for the reveal of the games for PlayStation 5. But this lines up with yet another Activision pattern. Activision usually likes to release press releases on Thursdays, along with patches and whatever else. Is this something that's rock solid? Is this something that's held to a T every single day and every single time? No. It's only the most common day that they like to release new content. For example, Spyro Reignited was announced on a Thursday. CTR Grand Prix and blog posts usually went live on Thursdays, among other Call of Duty related announcements as well. And it just so happens that June 4th lands perfectly on a Thursday, as well as being the following Thursday from the release date of the plushies that I had mentioned in my previous video and other merch that would be coming on May 29th. Now, all the way back in December, when Crash Bandicoot did not make his appearance at the Game Awards like we originally theorized, I had made a theory that if we did not see him through halfway of February, that he would likely show up in June at E3. The reason being is that he would likely be a part of the next gen launch lineup, and thus the release date would have to be pushed back. Now, yesterday, on May 5th, 2020, Activision held a financial call that revealed some interesting details of their future. Of course, we heard that there would be a premium Call of Duty game that would be coming out in the second half of the year, but as well as 2 new games from Activision's library. Now, with Activision's 5 to 7 month marketing pattern and determining that the second half of the year is during the fall and winter time, which of course is when we have predicted when the next Crash game would release with the next generation of consoles, if you were to roll back 5 to 7 months from that point, that would mean that the announcement of the next Crash game will actually be very soon. Also, the second game that they're mentioning is probably going to be Tony Hawk. It's the industry's worst kept secret. Also, they had declared that even though that we have been dealing with this crisis, they have been able to fully transition to everybody working from home, and according to Activision, there will be no delays to the games that are currently being developed for the second half of the year. Now, Activision follows a strict 5 to 7 month promotion period for their games, and if he was announced at the Game Awards but were to be a part of the next gen launch lineup, then it would pass that time span of 5 to 7 months. Now, of course, E3 is cancelled, but the Summer Game Fest is on to kind of replace that, and lo and behold, the June 4th date fits that theory very nicely. Now, this date can be backed up once again by this PlayStation UK magazine cover that seemingly was released a little early and is supposed to be the June edition of the magazine. Now, here's the interesting thing. The magazine comes out every 11th of the month. So this edition that is supposed to come out on June 11th has been confirmed by them to contain information on unannounced games at this point in time. So if this magazine is due to come out on the 11th, we would be getting new information on these apparent new games before the 11th, which adds more credit to the June 4th theory. Because of all this evidence, the PlayStation branded sales, PlayStation's marketing and exclusivity, the new merch, the release date of said merch, the specific Crash Bandicoot branding of merch, Summer Game Fest dates, Call of Duty's usual announcement time, the PS5 reveal and its separate game reveals, and everything else in between, I am officially planting my flag and stating that I think the brand new Crash Bandicoot game will be announced on June 4th, 2020 during the next gen games reveal by PlayStation. If Crash is not announced there, then for the first time in a long time, I have no idea when we'll be seeing him again.
A huge thank you to all those who support the channel through Patreon and being a sponsor on the channel. If you'd like to help it out, check out the links in the description below, where you can buy some CGE merch or become a Patreon. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe for more gaming and nostalgic content. Thank you so much everyone, and I'll see you guys in the next video.